Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, AirsoftAL, and today I'm going to be answering the most commonly asked questions on the one platform of the one takedown guide, which has gotten the most insane amount of requests, the most insane amount of questions, and by God, we're here to talk about it. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Tavor 95, or the Micro Tavor, or simply X95 for short. This has been the most asked questioned gun ever in the history of my channel. And you'd think it wouldn't be, but because I did a takedown guide of it and said a lot of things, even showed that yes, you could put a longer barrel in it. It does accept a standard AEG barrel. You can put a redneck flat hop in the thing. You can do a lot of other stuff. So let's just go ahead and go through the most commonly asked questions of this. Starting with, does it take M4 mags? I know a lot of you are probably face palming by this point in time, but you gotta understand, a lot of people who watch my channel are just getting into airsoft. So yes, I have to deal with that as well. But to answer the question, obviously, yes, it can take standard AEG M4 magazines, be it mid caps, high caps, even drum mags. Yes, it can take drum mags. Simply insert as such as any other bullpup. Moving on. The most other commonly asked question is, can it take a suppressor? Yes. However, there is a little bit of a, Of course I do that. Go ahead and put this in the blooper reel. I'll just put it in the blooper reel. Oy vey. Anyway. Now, the next most commonly asked question is, can it take a suppressor? Yes. However, it cannot take a suppressor for two reasons. One, because this will lead into the next question, does it have threading? Yes, it does have threading. It has 14mm negative threading, or counterclockwise threading, under the orange flash hider here, but you gotta remove the very copious amounts of glue from it, meaning you gotta have this thing held over boiling water for Lord knows how long in order to melt off the glue in order to get the thing apart, which even then, it's a little bit more tedious because the outer barrel itself is not together. It's not a piece of metal. It's not one solid piece of plastic. It's actually two pieces of plastic clamshelled together. So yeah, there's that issue. However, you can replace it with a metal barrel. I know a viewer of mine actually did that, and it was pretty awesome how they did it, but I don't know what metal barrel they used, so I'm going to have to talk with them and actually see if they'd be willing to actually come on to the channel and actually talk about their build of their X95, because they actually HPA'd it. And they put a metal barrel, they put a ton of other stuff into it. They made it into a very evil sleeper gun. Which, back to the suppressor question. While the threading is under here, and while it is under heaviest amounts of glue, the two lugs you see here on the actual flash hider, the birdcage flash hider, can in fact be used for the type of suppressors that would go over the A2 birdcage flash hider and lock down, essentially. So yes, you can use suppressors, but you got to use the suppressors that are meant to go over the flash hider and not exactly screw on. So that should answer your question. Another common question I've gotten is the trigger right here, the trigger, because when people have actually taken apart their X95s and they've actually followed my video, the trigger spring has more or less come apart with it, and they haven't figured out why the trigger doesn't have the same response that it usually does. To simply put, the way the spring works is that it's one of those nice springs. Here, let me move the magazine out of the way so I'm not hitting it. The tension spring is what it is. What you do is you actually have it to where the bar of the spring itself is laying on the trigger itself, going that way. Meaning the tension will push the trigger this way. More or less. Let me just go ahead and show you. When I pull the trigger back, it should be doing this. It should be immediately resetting itself. Next, there is a little cut on the spring itself where the spring should lay on the right side of the body. And there is a little channel there. Instead of pulling it this way, towards you, you have to pull that one spring bar, or at least the leg, I like to call the leg of the spring, this way, towards the front. That not only gives the tension you need to make sure that the trigger will keep resetting itself, but you got to be careful, because if you do this, you may cut yourself, or at least poke yourself with the spring itself, because that pointy end is pointy and will impact your skin and will penetrate your skin, and yes, there will be blood. Now, something to relieve this when taking the gun apart is, you see this right here? See this little punch? Tap that in, so that way, when you go to take it apart, one, not only is this bar right here pushed out a little bit so it's not making contact with the left side of the body, but at the same time, it's keeping the spring in place. Now, you don't want it too far away from it. You don't want it not too far away from it. You want it just at that right point where it's out of the left side of the body, but at the same time, it's still in place to where it's keeping the spring, the tension spring on the trigger in place. Again, this is just one of those things of, you gotta practice it enough. Finally, the most common question I've gotten out of everything is, can it take an 11.1 Lipo? This version can, yes, because this one is from eBay. This is an eBay X95 that I highly recommend you go for, and there is a link down below probably to it, to where you can buy this for less than what the actual MSRP is. And the guy who sells these actually refurbishes them to where they can take lipos. So yes, they can take lipos if it's the refurbished one, but if it's the stock one, that's a 50-50, because I have talked to people who have actually run lipos in the stock X95s, and they themselves say that the results vary. So that's just how it is. Moving on. The final one. I meant to say that this is the final one. No, this is actually the final most commonly asked question, and I think I've already answered it, is, can you HPA it? Yes, you can. You can HPA it, because if you've seen the takedown guide video I did on the X95, you'll know that everything back here is nothing but empty dead space, when literally all it is the motor just right here. All that's copious dead space. So yes, you can actually put an HPA engine in this thing, and yes, you can actually flat hop it. You can do a lot with this thing because of how much dead space there is. I'm not joking on that. There is nothing but copious amounts of dead space. Ugh. Anywho, thank you all for watching. As always, I've been AirsoftAL, the common man's airsofter, who asks the most commonly asked questions about certain guns. And if you happen to have questions about any of the other guns, be it the JG AK-12 or even anything else in between, please do let me know in the comment section down below, or in our Discord if you happen to be in our Discord, and we'll go from there. And if you want me to actually take a look at Man of Ink's, or whatever that eBay seller's name is, more of his refurbished guns, then consider donating to our PayPal down below as well, and we'll take a look at them, because I'm honestly wanting to take a look at not only his refurbished 416, but also his refurbished ARX160. Because I'll be honest, I'm kind of curious about the ARX160, because I do love the ARX160. I'm a little bit curious of how that thing's set up, or at least how it's been refurbished. Anyway, thank you all for watching. As always, I've been AirsoftAL, the common man's airsofter, who answers commonly asked gun questions, so you're a little bit more educated. And as always, folks, I will see you in the next video. Till next time. Later!